Have you ever noticed how online personas can sometimes feel like those super polished movie trailers? You know, all the best parts, carefully edited, none of those awkward pauses or anything.
Right, like a highlight reel of someone's life.
Exactly. Well, today we are diving into a fascinating case study that really throws this whole idea of online persona versus reality into sharp relief.
Ooh, this is gonna be good. I love a good deep dive.
Get ready to buckle up because we're exploring the very curious case of Patrick Sean Tomlinson.
Okay, so what's the deal with this guy? Why is he internet famous?
Well, that's what we're trying to find out. We've got our virtual magnifying glass on a massive Kiwi Farms thread dedicated to him.
Kiwi Farms, huh? Those folks don't mess around. They get into it.
They really do. And let me tell you, this isn't just some casual internet gossip, This thread goes deep, like really deep.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me the lowdown.
So the thread dives into the contradictions between the persona Patrick projects online, which is this self-proclaimed tough guy, former bar fighter, you know the type,
The internet tough guy. Always a classic.
and the reality of his online behavior. Because let's just say it doesn't always quite match up.
I see. So we've got a bit of a disconnect between the image and the reality. It's like that saying, don't believe everything you read on the internet.
It's like that, but with extra helpings of irony.
I'm all ears. Tell me more.
Okay, so we've got Patrick, a self-published science fiction author,
Okay, sci-fi author, got it. Nothing too out of the ordinary there.
and he seems to really relish expressing some pretty strong opinions, especially when it comes to, you guessed it, politics.
Politics, the internet's favorite pastime.
Right. But here's the thing. The thread reveals this really interesting disconnect between his tough guy image and how he actually reacts to any kind of criticism.
Oh, this should be good. How does he react? Does he threaten to fight everyone who disagrees with him?
No, not quite. Although he does talk a lot about being a former bar fighter and self-defense instructor.
Right, of course, the classic tough guy credentials.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that he's actually very quick to engage in arguments, like any kind of disagreement, and he'll block anyone who doesn't agree with him.
Really? So much for being a tough guy.
I know, right? And he actually brags about blocking people with thousands of followers, which honestly seems a little counterproductive.
Mm.
If you're trying to, sell books, maybe don't alienate a huge chunk of your potential audience.
Yeah. Not the best marketing strategy, is it? It's almost like he enjoys the conflict, the blocking, the whole back and forth.
Yeah, it's almost like he can't help himself. He gets sucked into these online arguments, and he has to have the last word, even if it means blocking half the internet.
It's fascinating, isn't it? This need to control the narrative, even if it means sacrificing potential readers or fans.
It is interesting, and this is where it gets really captivating, at least from a deep dive perspective. Because this tension, this dissonance between the image he's trying to project, this tough guy author, and his actual online behavior, it's incredibly telling, I think.
You're right. I mean, it speaks to this larger trend we see online where people feel this pressure to craft these idealized, almost fictionalized versions of themselves. It's like everyone's trying to be the main character in their own online movie.
Yes. And it makes you wonder, at what point does that carefully crafted persona become more important than actual authenticity?
Right. And how much of ourselves are we willing to sacrifice for a few likes and retweets? It's something to think about, you know?
Definitely. But in Patrick's case, this whole curated persona thing, well, it became the target of some pretty intense online trolling.
Oh boy, I bet. The internet can be a cruel, cruel place. So how did it all go down?
You wouldn't believe it. It all started, believe it or not, with comedian Norm Macdonald.
Norm Macdonald, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. What does he have to do with any of this?
It's kind of wild, actually. So we have this, powder keg of online persona and, some simmering tensions already. And then, boom, the Norm Macdonald incident happens and it just blows the whole thing wide open.
Okay, drama. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Fill me in. What exactly went down?
So Patrick, he publicly took issue with Norm Macdonald's stance on the Me Too movement.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's a bit of a minefield to wade into online.
It is. And it, quickly escalated into a full-blown Twitter tirade.
Oh no, I can only imagine. What kind of tirade are we talking here?
Really going after Norm Macdonald. And I can only imagine the all-caps rants and angry emojis flying around.
Oh yeah, the classic internet overreaction.
Exactly. And, not exactly the best look for this, self-proclaimed tough guy author who's trying to win over readers, right?
Not exactly the best PR move.
Definitely not. And unfortunately for Patrick, this very public, very heated outburst, it caught the attention of the, wait for it, the Ropey and Anthony subreddit.
Oh wow. Okay, you weren't kidding. Things just went from bad to worse.
Right. I know I've heard whispers about that corner of the internet too, and it's not exactly known for its, shall we say, gentle ribbing and constructive criticism.
No, no, not at all. Let's just say those folks are known for their particular brand of humor, which often involves, well, let's call it intense scrutiny of people they find online. And Patrick, with his online persona and his very public meltdown, he basically painted a giant bullseye on his back.
So they zeroed in on him. What did they do?
Yeah.
Try to, like, engage him in a debate, offer some counterpoints to his arguments.
Yeah, you know they didn't. This is Ropey and Anthony we're talking about. Subtlety is not really their style. No, they went into overdrive. Memes, tons of memes, fabricating outrageous backstories, basically turning Patrick's carefully crafted tough guy online persona into, well, the butt of every joke.
Oh, man. It's like a masterclass in online pylons.
It really is, and it's something we see all the time online, you know? Someone says something controversial, or in Patrick's case, has a very public meltdown, and boom, the internet swarms in.
Yeah. And it feels like nuance just goes out the window. Like, it doesn't matter what the context is or what the person's actual intentions were. Once the mob is after you, it's open season.
It's the digital equivalent of throwing tomatoes from the back of a crowd. You're right, nuance has left the chat. But here's the thing, and this is important for anyone who spends time online. Engaging with trolls, especially in anger, never ends well. Like, ever.
Right, it's like that old saying, never wrestle with a pig. You both get dirty, but the pig likes it.
Exactly. So the question is, how did Patrick, knowing this or not, how did he react to this onslaught of, well, attention?
Yeah. Did he try to ignore it? Did he lean in? What happened?
Well, if you've been paying attention to the story so far, you can probably guess that he didn't exactly back down quietly.
Oh, I think I know what's coming. He dove headfirst into the dumpster fire, didn't he?
You could say that, yes. Instead of, ignoring the trolls, disengaging, maybe trying to have some kind of dialogue, he doubled down, like really doubled down.
Right.
Responded with even more anger and defiance, which, of course, only made the whole thing worse.
Classic case of don't feed the trolls gone wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Textbook case. And this pattern, the outbursts, the doubling down, it eventually led to a whole series of bans and evasions from various platforms.
Oh, wow. So it wasn't just like one Twitter suspension. This was a full-on digital exile.
Pretty much. Twitter, Reddit, even Goodreads, he cycled through them all, even trying to create an alternate account disguised as his cat, Robert Mueller, to get around the bans.
Wait, hold on. He had a cat persona. Robert Mueller. Okay, that's kind of hilarious.
I know, right? You gotta give him points for creativity, I guess, but it also speaks to this almost desperate desire to stay online, to control the narrative, even when it's clear that it's just making things worse.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, what's driving that need? Is it ego? Is it a fear of being irrelevant?
Right. It's a question for the ages, I think.
Yeah.
But it also brings us to a whole other layer of this deep dive, and that's Patrick's actual books.
Oh, right. I almost forgot he was a sci-fi author amidst all this online chaos.
Right. But here's the thing. It wasn't enough for him to be a tough guy author. He also wanted to be a best-selling tough guy author.
Ah, yes. The siren song of those coveted 5-star reviews.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting, because now we're talking about potential astroturfing.
Okay, for those of us who aren't familiar with that particular corner of the internet, what is astroturfing?
Basically, it's creating a false impression of grassroots support, like using fake accounts or manipulating reviews to inflate someone's popularity or credibility.
So like those suspiciously glowing Amazon reviews that are clearly written by someone's mom.
Exactly. And in Patrick's case, the Kiwi Farms thread points to what they claim is evidence of this very practice, like tons of glowing 5-star reviews for his books on Goodreads, but from these really suspicious-looking accounts.
With accounts with names like Patrick's #1 fan or this book changed my life, Robert Mueller.
See? You get it. And while it's basically impossible to prove these claims without, like, a full-on investigation, the thread definitely raises some red flags. There are reviews from accounts that seem to be linked to personal friends, family members, and maybe even, yes, Patrick himself.
Wow. And that's a huge no-no in the world of online reviews. Like, it totally undermines the whole point, which is to get genuine feedback from readers.
Right. And it makes you question everything. Are these glowing reviews for real? Or are they just another part of Patrick's carefully constructed online facade?
It's almost like we're trying to put together this puzzle, but some of the pieces are, like, totally missing, and then others might just be completely made up.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And it highlights this whole other thing about this situation, this whole echo chamber effect. So Patrick and his critics are probably both stuck in their own online bubbles.
Echo chambers. Okay, so for those of us who don't spend all day online, break it down for us. What does that mean exactly?
Okay, so picture this. A room where every sound you make just bounces right back at you, you know? Amplified, distorted. That's kind of what an echo chamber is like online. You're constantly bombarded with information that already confirms your biases, making it really difficult to even see different perspectives, let alone engage with them.
So it's like you're stuck in this feedback loop of your own opinions.
Exactly. And the more time you spend in these online echo chambers, the harder it becomes to, like, break free.
Yeah.
You're less likely to question your own beliefs or, have a good faith conversation with someone who sees things differently.
Which probably explains why things escalated so quickly with Patrick and his critics.
Oh, absolutely. It's like throwing gasoline on an already raging fire.
And it makes you wonder, like, what role do we all play in this? Are we contributing to a culture of empathy and understanding online? Or are we just adding fuel to the fire?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I think this deep dive into Patrick's story, it really highlights the importance of, self-awareness, recognizing our own biases and being open to engaging with different points of view.
It's so easy to get caught up in the outrage,
Yeah.
to hit that retweet button without really thinking about the consequences.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there. But it's crucial to remember that there are real people behind those online personas, and our words have actual weight, actual impact.
Think before you tweet.
Exactly. Once something's out there in the digital world, it's almost impossible to take back.
It's like the internet can be this amazing tool for connection, but it can also be a weapon.
Without a doubt. But it also gives us a chance to learn from these situations, to become more critical of the information we come across online, to question our own assumptions, and to be more thoughtful about how we interact with others.
So where do we go from here? How do we actually break free from these echo chambers and create a more constructive online environment?
It has to start with each of us, being more mindful of our own biases, being willing to listen to different perspectives, even if we don't agree with them.
And maybe sometimes just taking a deep breath before hitting send.
Yes, a deep breath can go a long way. Because ultimately, building a more empathetic and understanding online world, it's a shared responsibility. It takes all of us.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today. Big thanks to you for joining us for this deep dive. It's been quite a ride.
It really has.
And to everyone listening, remember to stay curious. We'll see you next time.